relatively short video to share with your family and friends. Most of you that know me personally know 7 days a week, a minimum of 2 hours, sometimes up to 8 hours, I follow podcasts, watch videos from people that are boots on the ground so that I can bring you a concise overview of what's happened in the past week. I get my tongue tangled all the time. I'm not a professional journalist or reporter. I'm better in the written word. So what I do is I write everything down as I hear it and see it and listen to it, and then give you my version. So we'll start off today with the Mel K Show, one of my favorite gals. She had Chad Stewart on as a guest. He is the author of Britfield, that's Britfield, which is written for kids. It's a book. It's written for kids and holds on to faith and family values. Britfield is about friendship, family, loyalty, and courage. He does free school tours to promote critical thinking, creative thinking, and imagination. He has found that some teachers are nothing more than social justice warriors, especially in inner city schools. He feels this is his call to humanity and is now working on his second book. Next, Juan O'Savin did a podcast stating that we are currently at our military's mercy. The news is mass deception. We have a corrupt government, to include schools. He believes nearly everyone knows Donald J. Trump won the election, and all should stay strong because we will get justice peacefully and lawfully. Doug Billings, who is probably my most favorite male journalist, he's from the right side, that's the name of the show. He had a lady on I'd never heard of before, Maria Zack. She's the founder of nationsinAction.org. Say that again because you might want to go out there. NationsinAction.org. She's also been a CEO of several IT companies, so she knows a lot about computers and software. With her background, she knew as soon as she saw and heard what was going on, the first place you look for fraud is in the code. It is critical to look at code, and footprints can always be tracked even if they erase them. Do a little research on her, as she has a lot of very interesting information. One article to research is how Obama, M16, CIA, and EU stole the U.S. election with Italian military satellites. She names names. Oh boy, I hate names. Stefano, Sierrafini, of course they're all Italian, they sound so pretty when you can say them properly. Ignazio Monaco Dio and General Claudio Graziano, who are holding secret meetings on rigging elections. The biggest player is Alexander Nix from Great Britain, who is actually an MI6 military intelligence for Great Britain. The Leonardo whistleblower Arturo Diella is missing since he worked on this program, and he asked the question, why are we getting involved in the U.S. elections? Sounds like a reasonable question to me. But he reported that corruption to the U.S. embassy there, and Maria is very concerned for him and his family. He's been missing ever since. So she asked, that we all pray for him and his family. She went on to say that Mr. Renza helped Barack Obama coordinate activities, and when she followed the money, it led to $400 million being paid back to BO from the money he sent sent to Iran. After being laundered through other countries, the final resting place was with Merrill Lynch in California. She believes some of the money was used from those funds towards the Russian hoax. She has documentation and proof that B.O., Joe Biden, and Jim Messina frequently were stealing money from the taxpayers. Excuse me. Biden made a trip to Serbia after a meeting with people from the Dominican company and she believes, he will be stepping down very soon due to mental instability, which will keep him from being prosecuted for his numerous crimes. Maria also stated she was surprised that Gina Haspel had been made head of the CIA, as she was stationed in England twice, something very rare. Something doesn't smell right to Maria regarding this situation, and she believes we all need answers as to why Gina was appointed as head of the CIA. The bottom line here is that there continues to be ongoing investigations at several levels by several different people from several different angles. It is not over. It just takes time when you do things legally. Personally, I just like you to consider this. Obama sent billions of our taxpayers' dollars to Iran with a $400 million kickback, which he used to start the Russian hoax. And I believe there were others, because I've heard from several other sources over the past year that Hillary also contributed to this hoax. Then a year later, we have Congress impeaching a president again with our tax dollars for this hoax, which they knew was false. They didn't care. Remember, Nancy said the same as Hitler. Tell a lie often enough and people believe it. I also believe I saw Hillary say that in one of her documentaries. Oh, folks, they are right in our faces with it. They are so blatant they don't care. Now, if you've never heard of these two gentlemen, I've been watching their live feeds for months, and it's been interesting because they do Penguin 6 does a video from Washington, D.C. every single day, and it gives you a lot of historical things about the whole area, which is great because probably there won't be too many people visiting that city anymore. But anyhow, he just he lives there. He does a walkabout every day as to what's going on. The other one is Mustang, like the car, Mustang or a horse, Medic. Mustang Medic's latest video is from McAllen, Texas Processing Center. See, Mustang Medic goes around to different areas, but he spent a lot of time in D.C. Showing us the fencing going up, coming down, smoke or steam coming from the manhole covers around the White House, all kinds of things. But you have to just realize that things are more complicated than we can imagine. The situation is very unique in history. Several countries are involved. There's still ongoing additional threats, some we're not even aware of. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. So for those that keep getting impatient, when are we going to see arrests? When's this going to happen? When's it? There's just, we don't know. We don't know. We just have to have faith that justice will prevail. Juan believes that we are under a dual presidency. Interesting concept. He says our corrupt Congress and captured courts recognize Joe Biden as president, but our military actually recognizes President Donald J. Trump as their commander in chief. How do we restore America lawfully? He goes on to say most of you are aware of all the false flags that the media has thrown at us. Most of you are intelligent enough to understand that we have two anti-American groups destroying our cities while the media calls them peaceful protest. The peaceful protests did over $3 billion in damage and killed hundreds of people, to include black police officers, and I'll never forget, sweet little black boy, age 6, in the midst of all their shenanigans. Once you really think about that, do you think if the military just marched in and took over, we wouldn't have civil uprisings? There are many things to consider, both domestic and foreign. With all that being said, one believes that the military will not wait forever. President Trump is not out of the game. We have to have a safe and lawful transition. Generals advise the president, and then the president issues orders. Keep our country and our military in your prayers. The Israel News Live reported that there is unrest in Ukraine, Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and Israel, and these are considered the hot spots around the world. It's been reported that soon the Starlink communications system will take over mass media worldwide. We all wait for that day. The world is watching us as they consider Biden weak, and Trump was a very strong leader who put America first. That idea is highly respected around the world because each country should be putting their own people first. Someone asked me what this DUMBS is that we hear about, DUMBS. It is an underground tunnel system under the Capitol building built by Bush Sr. and used by him, Clinton, Bush Jr., and Obama to abuse children. I know this statement is a shock to some, but if you visited Robert David Steele's website blog and followed the pedophilia section, you'll learn this is the truth and so much more. Sex trafficking is much larger and more profitable than drug or gun running because they can sell people over, and over. Once you fully understand how sick all this is, you'll understand why our First Lady, Melania, did not want to reside in the White House. It's quite possible that in the future this will either be destroyed or turned into museum because of how evil everything has been. The Three Gorges Dam in China is pending destruction, and this is where it is believed to be the China cabal headquarters. From the Epic Times this week, front page headlines were: a leading Chinese professor who is also an advisor to the CCP, Communist China Party, laid out the comprehensive plan for the communist regime to overtake the USA as a world superpower, to include manipulating elections. Governors are standing up against DC and governing their states as they should. Governor DeSantis of Florida, salute, has stated that he will not mandate vaccines nor mask wearing and will not require mandatory vaccine passports. He will not tolerate censorship by big tech and has introduced a bill to protect businesses from COVID-19 19 lawsuits. In Tennessee, Governor Bill Lee signed into law a bill which prevents transgender biological males from women's sports competitions. Arkansas Governor Hutchinson signed into law a measure to protect healthcare providers from discrimination if they refuse to provide medical service for religious or moral reasons. Yeah, that's been going on, folks. NRA membership has seen an increase in new members with 150,000 signups in 2021 alone. Remember last week news on Sicily, Italy regarding the AstraZeneca C-19 vaccine that I told you about? Well, this week Canada pauses that vaccine for people under the age of 55, following concerns that it might be linked to rare blood clots. You think? Germany also restricted the same AstraZeneca with the same restrictions as Canada. You still think U.S. is head of healthcare in the world? Not hardly, folks. We are seeing an increase in COVID-19 cases all across the nation. But what is not being reported is how many of them received 2 vaccinations. Think about that. We personally know a hospital where several nurses who received the vaccinations in January are extremely ill now, and some are even in ICU units. We need investigative journalists who follow up with this information. What are the true numbers? Which manufacturer did they receive the jabs from? How long from vaccination to illness? We already know what the agenda was. But when is the truth going to be revealed? Now, I just want to add my own personal. I filled up 2 legal pads with 2 websites, the Florida Health website and the CDC website. I recorded every single day in 3 counties all of the stats on CDC, on COVID-19 cases. What I saw directly from their websites was not what I saw on television. And we know there was no deaths from heart attacks, no deaths from the regular flu, no suicide deaths. The list goes on and on. Everybody who died from COVID-19 in 2020. And yet at the end of the year, and you can go research the stats for yourself, there was actually 235,000 less deaths, total deaths, in 2020 than there were in 2019, 2018, and 2017. And that's amazing because the population kept increasing each year. So now I'm asking you, now all these people are starting to die that have taken the jab. Some have died immediately within a few days, few weeks, a couple of months. Now how are their deaths going to be recorded? Oh, they won't go down as COVID-19 cases, will they? We can't have our stats telling the truth. So they'll go down as, I don't know, mysterious heart attacks. Even though these nurses were very healthy people in their 30s and 40s. But yeah, they're not going to die from COVID, are they? Because we can't tell the truth. If we tell the truth, people will rip off their mask. They'll stop taking those jabs, and they'll stop social distancing, and businesses will stop closing, and our economy will open up. All the things that our President Trump had instilled in our country that were good things have been torn down in less than a few months. The best information I've learned from doing researches of vaccination deaths and injuries for those people who do not want to believe it. Start out, browser, DuckDuckGo, then you just type in truth. Well, one place is Truth Ref Library is a good place to start. But you just type in vaccination deaths and injuries. Tuck it in DuckDuck. Type that in DuckDuckGo and start investigating for yourself. These are scientists and doctors, pe- very credible people. Thousands and thousands of them. You all are listening to the government and Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates and George Soros and the commercials on TV. Free. We've had phone calls because my husband's VA. We've probably had 3 phone calls for him to go get his free vaccination. Walgreens is advertising, Publix here in Florida, everyone. Our governor's even pushing them. Sorry, that's where I draw the line with our governor. He does have an expert medical team. I don't know what shots Florida is getting, so maybe I shouldn't even be saying anything, but I do think there may be some good ones. We don't know. I don't know what they'd be jabbing my arm with, so I don't choose to be a guinea pig, so to speak. Patrick Byrne was on the Ann Vanderstel show this last week discussing Operation Snow Globe. There's another Operation Snow Globe. DuckDuckGo has a lot of information. And if you would like to watch that for yourself, the podcast was on steeltruth.com. Ann Vanderstel, my favorite gal. The date of that interview was Monday, April 12th. Operation Snow Globe. In the Gateway Pundit News this week, a New Hampshire governor mandated an audit of the election results. In Michigan, it was discovered that chips were embedded in the voting system computer motherboards. Excuse me. I don't know how those journalists talk for hours without having issues. 40% of the Marines are refusing vaccination, as well as healthcare workers and doctors. A side note, I'll tell you, my own doctor is from India. His country has banned all vaccines. He's telling me how I need to have a vaccine because due to this, and this. And I said, even your own country's banned him. He just got up and walked out and didn't say another word to me. I'm looking for a new doctor right now, by the way, if anyone knows a good one in my area. Preferably one that doesn't shove prescriptions and jabs at you for everything under the sun. Dr. Charlie Ward this week shared a funny story about Boris Johnson receiving an Indian name of Walking Eagle for something he did. You know, he wanted a little certificate, so they gave him one. And they gave him an honorary name of Walking Eagle. After Boris Johnson left, someone asked the chief what that name meant, and he replied, "A walking eagle is a bird so full of shit it can no longer fly." I think I might just adapt this expression to replace mainstream media. So from now on, when I talk about Walking Eagle, that's mainstream media, and that includes YouTube. Dr. Charlie Ward, as well as numerous other digital warriors, tell us that there's still a lot of positive things going on behind the scenes, and like Patrick Burns, he thinks we are getting close to explosive truths coming out. I've spoon-fed you a few of them. I've given you websites to go to where you could see the explosive truths for yourselves. It's up to you. An interesting video I watched this week was called The Law of War, and it's a gentleman's interpretation of Q-drops. The main gist of it was, we are right in the middle of the storm. Very soon the military duties will be to remove Biden. Very soon the military duties will be to remove Biden. Have full media disclosure. Over 45,000 indictments released with tribunals, punishment, and international violations will also be disclosed. We'll see. Remember, everything is a theory or a conspiracy theory until it becomes fact. On Monday, Best Life released an article that the CDC and FDA recommended pausing use of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine due to 6 extremely rare blood clotting events that have been reported in people who received it. Ohio Governor DeWine called for providers to temporarily pause the vaccine while the blood clots are investigated. Now, I just want to give you a little personal warning here. Whenever you read something like that or hear about it, common sense, critical thinking is, why did they pick on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and not Moderna and Pfizer? Why? Really? Do you think Johnson & Johnson vaccines are any more dangerous than the other two or any less dangerous? I don't know. I'm not saying I do know. I'm just saying whenever you hear stuff like that, think about it, because there's usually something more behind it than we know about or hear about and may never know. Also on Monday, Health, it's called Health, H-E-L-T-H, they released an article that the Pfizer vaccine has a greater likelihood of being broken through by the South African variant of COVID. In case you haven't heard, that's the next one they plan to release on us. You know, all of us non-vaxxers. Sidney Powell remarked this week in an interview with Rose Tennant from a radio station. I don't know where it's at. It's WJAS 1320. And I loved what she said. Just realize they took the two most pathetic candidates in history of the Democratic Party, a vice president who didn't even win a primary in her own state, and a demented pervert, among other things, who can't even tie his own shoelaces or know where he is. And they crammed them up our nose with a fork of fraud so blatant that it is visible around the world. Vaccine update by Health Ranger Mike Adams. Vaccine antibiotics cause blood clots in the brain, lungs, and heart. If you don't know who Mike Adams is, research him utilizing your DuckDuckGo browser. He's the founder and owner of Natural News. Posted on Rumor Mills, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops and Lutheran Immigration and Refuge Service are two major refugee contractors who receive millions from our government to move illegal aliens from the border to interior states. What the hell's really going on here? Where are investigative journalists? Sitting in the little rooms waiting for their 4 o'clock briefing, telling them what they should and should not say. Sidney Powell tweet, if the rule of law is applied, Donald J. Trump is president. If you really want to know what's going on at the border, you need to hear Victor Avila, A-V-I-L-A, who is an ex-ICE agent. I watched his video. He recently took a trip to Texas and gave his account on an interview with Mel K. And that is the April 13th podcast on the Mel K Show. You're looking for Victor Avila. Please remember, once you feel you are informed of the truth, write to your senators and representatives with your concerns and your opinion. We vote them in to represent us, and the only way they know what we're thinking is when they hear from us. I don't know about you. We can't walk up to Senator Scott or Governor DeSantis and say, hey, I'd like to just sit down and have a little chat with your ass. It don't work that way. Now, do they see them? Maybe not. Does their staff see them? Probably. Do you think if they get enough of us, do they pay attention? Do they pass a message up the line? I don't know, but if you do nothing, we know for sure they're not going to hear anything. So at least we have to try. ProjectVeritas.com, that's VERITAS. You just have to shake your head at some of this stuff. It's just so surreal. CNN director proudly admits their network engaged in propaganda to remove Trump from the presidency. He stated, fear sells. And their next step is to push the climate change. I heard it with my own ears. You can go out there and hear it with your own ears too. He sits right there and says it. He's proud because they had a major role in removing, not just removing, but 4 years of lying on mainstream media. What were we going to call that? Oh yeah, Walking Eagle News. That they were throwing billions, something like $30 billion to get people to hate Trump. And trust me, I know people that it worked with, people that I thought were fairly intelligent. What can you say? It's just like, you can't tell them all this at once. Yeah, so, ask questions, I guess, is the best thing we can do. I read little Bible passages every morning from Billy Graham's book of wisdom. And I love this. This week was a perfect week to read Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 10. Whoever loves money never has money enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied. Remind you of anyone? I can certainly think of a few people. And you know, most of them, you don't have to go any further than celebrities, some of the sports heroes, and definitely a lot of politicians. You know, the ones that have been in there 40, 50, 60 years. Ann Vandersteel interviewed Cochise County, Arizona rancher John Ladd. His family's owned a ranch for 125 years that borders right up to the wall. He said approximately 300 illegals cross his property every single day. They are single males, no women, no children. Now, common sense tells you we have open borders. They're coming through by the thousands. So why are there single males coming through? Gee, do you think they might be the bad guys? According to John, he said Reagan started this problem when he talked about amnesty. He talked about John McCain, who thought everyone was an idiot, and he refused to talk politics because his goal was to run for president. So he wouldn't talk about the border problem because that was too controversial. So he wasn't trying to fix it. He threw money at cameras, have more cameras on spots. And I guess it costs a lot of money. Not more people, though. John states that the existing border wall's biggest positive is that it clearly shows the border between two countries. The biggest negative is that the Border Patrol doesn't patrol it. The reality is that America depends on the cartels for drugs and trafficking because it's big business. In other words, there's a lot of money in it. And John's not the only one that has voiced that concerned. Before Trump, he said illegals used to just drive over to do their business in their vehicles. Drive over, drive back. Drive over, drop off some bodies, drive back. Drive over, drop off drunks, guns, whatever, drive back. It was easy because Obama put social issues over national security with getting rid of old school military, which was all part of his plan to make America a socialist country. It will take at least one generation to fix things, and it all starts in the schools. Modern schools are teaching no morals, no standards, no accountability. Everybody's a victim of something. Those things must be fixed first. Our kids have been brainwashed. Not so, I'm old enough, not so much my children, but definitely my grandchildren and now my great grandchildren. It's heartbreaking. If I had a lot of money, I'd get them homeschooled or at least in a religious school where they have some morals. I'm not saying all teachers are bad. You know, you do any kind of video now, they pick it apart and try to turn it around that you're a bad person. Whatever. Just listen and do your own research and think with your own head, rule with your own heart and what your gut tell you. Am I telling you the truth or am I putting a bunch of bullshit out there? Biden has shut down the contractors and is offering asylum. The Mexican military is patrolling on their side of the wall, but there's no military to be seen on our side. Just the border patrol, and they're pretty damn busy at the detention centers. His words, not mine. On rare occasions, when the media does come, they always know ahead of time, and it's a full dog and pony show. And regardless of what you hear, and as bad as the cartels are, they're not nearly as corrupt as our government. John stated that he and his father have attended many meetings over the years regarding the border situation. It costs $20 million a mile to build the wall. He says it needs to be finished. His parting words were, the message needs to be sent out to illegals. You only come here legally. We open our arms to people who come here legally, not illegally. It's not for handouts, but it's for you to become contributing members of our American society, just like our ancestors did. Ann's next guest was Tim Foley, who is part of a volunteer group made of ex-military men who patrol the border tracking illegals, the areas where the border patrol officers are not seen. He told us that the vast majority, same as the rancher did, they're single males, no women and children, and the main reason he believes is the terrain is very, very rough, and they walked us down paths and over ridges and cliffs. We saw what the terrain is. It's horrid. Plus, the temperatures range everywhere from 11 degrees to 80 degrees in the desert. So it is very rugged. And again, the question remains, why are they coming through this way right now when they're welcomed at the borders? Chances are they're not good people. I think that's common sense. I don't know, maybe my common sense is different than yours. Certainly different than YouTube's. Ann and her producer Liz, walked miles with this group who showed us the humanitarian drop spots of food and water they leave for the illegals. Humanians are people who think, I know I screwed that up, we'll just keep going. They're people who think they are helping the illegals. But what they're helping is some very bad people coming into our country. Many of them had already been deported previously because of their crimes. And they just keep coming back over. And we actually have Americans that are out there putting water and food out for them? Really? Why do you think the humanitarians believe they're helping these folks? Common sense tells you. It's because they believe the lies that they've been told by the media and their affiliated party. And that's pretty damn scary because we know it's propaganda. They don't believe that propaganda exists in America. I'm here to tell you it does. And it has for a very long time. It's very difficult to I've had horrible times in researching, just like on a debate team, when I hear something, both sides, pro and con, before I form an opinion. And once I form an opinion, you can see my passion. Sky News Australia had two anchors speaking about the media's outrageous manipulation, both in the U.S. and in their country. And I quote, there is a concerted effort to cover up real news and to propagate an agenda which feeds a narrative to achieve political ends. CNN has a long history of deception, and even big tech has censored the truth. This is out of Australia. You still think the world doesn't know the truth? What's going on here? The world knows more than some of our family and friends. According to medical VERITAS, Dr. Leonard G. Horowitz, a Harvard trained public health expert, revealed an enterprise secreting critical information about the actual activities of Harvard's indicted nanochemistry professor Charles Leiber. Mr. Leiber has connections to the alleged plandemic and the conspiracy theory embraced by a consensus of best informed, most honorable scientists. A U.S. District Court in Middle Florida filed a case against COVID-19 vaccine makers, advertisers, and distributors. Huh. First I heard of that, I don't know where that's taking place. I need to dig and see if I can research that one. Boy, is that coffee getting cold. Why is coffee more bitter when it's cold? America First with Sebastian Gorka held a phone interview with President Trump this past week with an uninterrupted and uncensored interview. The president discussed voter fraud, big tech censorship, Biden's worst failures, the future of the Republican Party, and more. You can watch the full interview at sebgordka.com. That's sebgordka.com. The CDC released a statement of who should not get the vaccine. People with allergies. If you're allergic to PEG, which is polyurethane glycol, they also state do not get the J&J vaccine right now. And children. Did you get that? Vaccine. Children should not be vaccinated. It's on the CDC website. Go look it up for yourself. You'll have to dig, but it's out there. In a related article, they also stated, make sure any information you share comes from major news sources, hospitals, and health organizations like the CDC and WHO. I put a little footnote. LOL. I've read CDC and WHO. I ignore major news. I gather information directly from hospital employees, and trust people like scientists, infectious disease experts, the Doctors World Alliance, the Mayo Clinic, and many other reliable sources. Certainly never, nada, Fauci, CDC, or the who all receive monetary gains from their expert opinions, which seem to change direction like the week. Not to mention who is all the money behind those organizations. The same people that get money for the vaccine. Oh, geez, there's no, what do you call it? What do you call that when it's, Oh well, it escapes me. You know what I'm talking about. Yike, yike, yike. This article goes on to state DARPA backs the development of a microchip that is inserted into the skin to detect COVID 19. Do you get this? Do you know who DARPA is? I'm going to read it again. DARPA backs the development of a microchip to be inserted into your skin to detect COVID 19. You know, so if they detect you have it, you're quarantined. Even if you don't have it. But if they say you got it, you're quarantined from your family, from your friends, from your job, from your livelihood, whatever. DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency and is a research and development agency of the United States Department of Defense. It's responsible for the development of emerging technologies for use by military. Yep, that makes me sleep at night to know that they quote back the microchip in our bodies. By the way, video number 3 from March 21st was taken down from Health Experts YouTube. Amazing, because these are not my opinions, unless I state so, but they're named sources, which people can research for themselves. All my videos can still be seen on Rumble and BitChute and CloutHub, but as a CloutHub is a last resort because they're kind of scattered out there. I'm not too impressed so far with them, and I'm still trying to get a channel on CloutHub. And once I get a channel on there, then it'll be easier. And that's why I keep labeling video 1, 2, each one I number so that you know the order, because these updates aren't going to make any sense to you if you don't know what's going on previous to that. Early this morning, Simon Parks held a question and answer session with Dr. Charlie Ward. Most of the questions were about the QFS, that is the Quantum Financial System. That is a system not to be accused with, I hear people saying this all the time, they talk about the Great Financial Reset. That is totally a different thing, system. The video is from April 17th, and you can DuckDuckGo it if you wish to understand more what a quantum financial system is. And I highly suggest you do, because we're moving in that direction of blockchain, cryptocurrency. It stops all the money laundering and espionage and blackmailing, and it has a lot of good things to it. After listening to their podcast, I've been up since 1 o'clock this morning, so lots of things going on here, hours and hours. I mentioned the Tulsa Health and Freedom Conference was going on this weekend, and I had a chance to listen to 3 of the speakers this morning. I'll be listening to more and reporting on them next week. This is, we're near the end here. I just wanted to include this because I thought it was so wonderful, and I like to always leave with encouraging words. So these people leave you with encouraging words. General Michael Flynn, salute, kudos, stated, "We did win the election, but they outsmarted and outmaneuvered the American people. We do have a president. All our rights are being attached and attacking the church. It's not about the church, it's about our faith. We have 23 million veterans, and they need to run for local offices. Everyone needs to get involved and maximize your potential. We will not accept what is wrong because we know what is right." Lynn Wood, boy, he's always a hoot, isn't he? He stated, "Follow that money, and you're going to find all the evil. More evil than you want to know about, folks." He stated that he holds a love for the truth, especially to achieve justice. If something does not make sense, dip into it to find the truth because it's out there. Do not hold the spirit of fear. Nonsense is nonsense. Common sense is common sense. Donald J. Trump is the people's president. Every lie will be revealed. You cannot hide the truth. They kill children because they worship the devil. Cue is about the truth. Patrick Byrne began by explaining the beginnings of the Constitution and the importance of that Constitution. He stated that Dutch actually had the idea of what became the basis of our Constitution. We owe them a lot of gratitude. Year after year after year, many of our freedoms have already been eroded. Right now, they're packing the Supreme Court, which is really the way to eliminate a branch of our government. Our government, not theirs. The final thing they can do is to take away your right to vote in order to get their agenda through. You can find more information on all of this on AmericanProject.org. That's AmericanProject.org. We the people means all the people, no matter what your faith, gender, or color is. Respect your fellow Americans and be kind to your family, friends, and neighbors. That's your Sunday morning